And I have with me Ms. Sudarshana Roy Chaudhary, your host for today's evening. I would like to start with a few lines that I thought would throw light on today's topic. From primitive days of fire and stone to the world we know so vastly grown, the human race has journeyed far from the dawn of time to the digital star. With minds that reason and the hands that build, we have conquered mountains and oceans stilled. And through it all, we have grown and learned a history rich to be discerned. But now, as we stand at the crossroads, a new force in which we are enrobed, a form of intelligence so different from our own, a new kind of life that has grown. AI, a child of our own making, a new kind of consciousness in the offing, a machine that thinks and learns and creates a world of possibilities that awaits. Through today's show, we would like to embark on the journey of enlightenment on AI, where artificial intelligence meets human curiosity. Let us grab this wonderful opportunity to learn, grow, and gain valuable insights from the discussions with our eminent guest this evening. Over to you, Sudarshana ma'am.
Thank you, Vikranti ma'am. It is indeed a delight to be present at this forum where we have such eager learners and reputed names from the industry to quench our curiosity. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, we have the privilege to introduce to you our two noteworthy guests for the evening. Our first guest is Dr. Shaurya Roy. Dr. Shaurya Roy is a senior research director at Flipkart, where he is responsible for AI, machine language, data science strategy, and execution across multiple business units. Currently, he is leading the planning and forecasting technologies for one of the largest e-commerce networks in the world. He has a PhD in computer science from IISc Bangalore and MTech from IIT Bombay and BE from Jadavpur University in computer science. He has a glorious academic journey starting with being the state rank holder in class 10 secondary board examination. He has also done an MBA from the Faculty of Management Studies, FMS Delhi. Prior to joining Flipkart in 2020, Dr. Roy has spent nearly 2 decades in various roles in IBM Research and Xerox Research, as well as most recently as the Vice President heading the AI labs at American Express. His technical expertise is broadly in AI and machine language, and specifically in natural language processing, where he is a well-known thought leader. Over the last 2 decades, he has been granted 30 plus patents, and his work has led to 80 plus scientific publications with over 2,500 citations. Dr. Roy has been actively associated with a number of international conferences as an organizer and technical committee member, which has led him to be a globetrotter, traveling across the world, attending and chairing conferences. He has also been a regular speaker in the top-tier events, as well as an occasional guest lecturer in the prestigious engineering and business schools, such as IIT, IISc, IIM, ISB, etc. Dr. Roy is a distinguished member of the Association of Computing Machinery, ACM, and currently serves as the president of the India chapter of ACM SIG KDD. During his leisure, he loves to read, travel, and cook. His travel blogs and book reviews are often published at various online sites. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this generous introduction. I must say that I'm very happy to be here, and the pleasure and honor are absolutely mine. But I must also say that I'm a tad bit nervous, because seeing senior faculty members like yourself with maybe a list of questions in your mind or in your computer, I'm getting a butterfly in the stomach feeling. The same one that I used to get when the invigilators used to walk into the exam room with the question papers in hand. I hope your questions will be easier than that.
But your profile does not say that you should be nervous at all, sir. We should be nervous asking you questions.
But thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next guest for the evening is Mr. Vinod Kumar Ravindranath. Mr. Vinod Kumar Ravindranath is one of the top industry leaders when it comes to search, ranking, and machine learning. After securing the All India rank 1 in GATE Computer Science 1999 and earning his master's in computer science from the Indian Institute of Science, Mr. Vinod went to lead the Google News team, building its core ranking algorithms and Google Music app marketplace teams at Google. Subsequently, he has been the CTO and the managing director of Bloomridge, where he built the e-commerce search engine platform. He has also been the CTO of Belong.co, where he applied his strong technology and machine learning experience in helping people find where they belong in their careers. Today, he is the head of AI and engineering of Eightfold.ai, where he's using his expertise in something that he's so very passionate about, enabling the right career for everyone in the world. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the generous introduction. It's a pleasure and honor to be part of these sessions. I think, you told me the previous sessions that you have done. So I'm really fortunate to be here and also sharing the session with somebody like Shaurya Roy. So thanks to DPS for this wonderful opportunity.
Eager to hear from you, sir.
Thank you.
So now we start with our discussion. My first question to you, Mr. Vinod. Mr. Vinod, could you explain to common people what AI actually is? Many people who are not aware of this technical word much, but who have been hearing these phrases would like to know in simple terms what artificial intelligence is.
Yeah, I know why you're asking this question, because my title at Eightfold says Head of Artificial Intelligence. So let me share with you a small anecdote here. So when I joined Eightfold, so my boss was the CEO of Eightfold. He gave me this offer letter and said, your title is, he said, we are an AI company, and we are making you the head of AI. This is your title, right? So once I joined, I updated the status message on the internal boards at Eightfold. So I said, Vinod Kumar, head of artificial intelligence. That's not what I am. That is what I have. A head of completely artificial intelligence, no real intelligence. So whatever I say, please treat it with a pinch of salt. I'm sure, Shaurya is there to correct me whenever I go wrong. So thank you. So really thanks for giving me the opportunity to answer first, because Shaurya can always, make up for any errors from my side. So what is artificial intelligence, right? So this sort of reminds me of the three idiots question, what is a machine? That is posed in the class, right? So I don't want to give a textbook answer, but yet let me give a very simple explanation, right? A machine that can think like humans, right? I think that more or less, seems an apt description for artificial intelligence. So if something can, do, let's say, mathematical operations like humans, a machine that can remember things like humans, wouldn't we call that artificial intelligence, right? If that is the case, the fact is that computers have been doing this for the last 6-7 decades, right? Computers are capable of storing a lot of information in memory. We don't need to remember phone numbers anymore, anybody's email addresses anymore. Search engines like Google, they remember or actually keep in memory the entire content of the web, right? And mathematical operations, right? I think at least grown-ups don't use their brains anymore. They just resort to a calculator or a spreadsheet. So what is so different? Like, why is this word AI suddenly in such an enormous buzz mode, right? I think the answer is lies in understanding, how computers used to work. So far, I would say till maybe even 10 years ago, the way computers behave, I'm saying most computers behave, was to act on instructions, right? It would do instructions as you say. You are the master. Like, I'm sure that for a lot of you kids, your parents say that they are software engineers. So what do they do as software engineers? They are pretty much giving instructions to the computer. So you might wonder, aren't they doing this to me all day long? Well, that's what they are doing to you as well as to the computers, right? And when your dad says, or your mom says that, I work on Python, obviously they're not zoologists. Python is a programming language. In other words, it's a way of instructing the computer to do what they want. right? So to you, they say in the language that you know, they say sometimes a little harshly, or maybe many times harshly. I know a lot of kids thinking that way, or kindly, but to the computer, there's no emotion. You just pass on the instructions in Python, and the computer behaves as exactly as instructed. And your parents might feel a bit of success because they couldn't manage that with you. They at least managed it with the computer, right? But what changed in recent times, right? Particularly, I would say in the last 10 years, is that okay, let me go back to the examples that we can relate, right? Like we as kids, okay, I included myself, but you know, there's always a kid in you, even after you grow up, right? Do we all perfectly follow the instructions that our parents and teachers give? If anyone follows, can you please raise your hand? Okay, at least 80% of the instructions. You can raise your hand. Do you follow 80% of the instructions? Okay, good, Jeevan. I know your parents are behind you. Okay, now I know why most kids are raising their hands, you know, because they're all watching the parents and teachers, you know, on the Zoom but yes, we do listen to the instructions, but not everything, right? What do? We of course follow some of the instructions selectively from our teachers, from our parents. We also do what our friends do, right? Like we are also influenced. We try to do some of the things our friends do, like be it some acrobatic moves that our friends did, or dance moves that they have practiced, or maybe even a story that your friend narrated influences you to think about writing stories, or even solving mathematical problems, right? So what makes us as kids, right, behave differently from computers, right? So we just don't follow mere instructions. We also learn. We learn by observing. When your friend makes a dance move, he's not asking you, he's not instructing you to follow the dance move. So you're just copying it, right? And trying to better it. They do an acrobatic move. Okay, you feel it's cool, it's stylish. You try to replicate it or go one up on that, right? So what is happening here? So you are learning by observing, whereas computers, till the last decade, right, were all just, you know, students, super obedient students, just doing what someone else instructed. So what has happened now in the last 10 years is that we have built in some superpower or some abilities into the computer to start observing and thereby learning by themselves and doing things rather than merely doing it on instruction, right? And that is why you know, AI is maybe quite different from what computers used to do traditionally. And you know, we'll talk about the journey of AI in subsequent questions, but essentially this is the major difference, which is, are computers operating on instructions, or are they operating by observing and doing and learning and then doing things? So now what is going to change because of this, right? Then now your parents who are software engineers, in case they are, don't have to instruct computers in a cryptic language like Python. They can just tell the computers in a very human way, right? And then hope that, like you kids, the computers will also listen. But you know, but then the computers will start having a mind of their own, and they might or may not follow those instructions. So we are in for a very, in some sense, both exciting times and nervous times. And we'll discuss more about how, at least I feel, that the journey over here would unravel.
Thank you, sir, for simplifying AI to us.
Our question to Dr. Shaurya Roy. You have been now working on AI now for quite some time, and we have been hearing this AI buzz take the world by the storm. Now, but sir, please tell us something, that is it a recent occurrence, or how and when did it originate, and why is this recent occurrence?
Sure, absolutely, ma'am. Vinod already made my job easier by already giving some pretext into that. But let me start with a quote that has really left a mark on my mind since the time I first read it. It was by a famous AI historian and philosophist, Pamela McDougall, that artificial intelligence began with the ancient wish to forge the gods. So like God created humans, so humans always wanted to match up to him, like omnipotent, omniscient, that, and by creating beings, by able to create beings who are as capable as themselves, if not more capable, right? And that pursuit of creating beings which are intelligent, have mind of their own, can think, is the genesis of the field of AI. Right? Now, the history of AI kind of goes back a long time, as Vinod was also referring, right? I mean, it is probably as much as the history of computers, I would say. But in particular, the year 1956 is kind of seen as a landmark year when in Dartmouth College in the United States, in a summer workshop, some of the biggest names and biggest pioneers had quoted the term artificial intelligence for the first time. And not only they quoted the term for the first time, they also said, I mean, among many things, one of the statements that they had made, and I'm not verbatim quoting, but in essence, that human intelligence can be so precisely described that machines can be made to copy it, follow it, recreate it. And if you can do that, then machine can mimic everything that humans can do in an intelligent manner, right? So that's an exciting vision, isn't it? And that exciting vision drove a large number of scientists over the next 3 to 4 decades, right? And essentially to be able to create things which humans can do, like replicate the way humans can read and write, understand what a photo or an image is containing, building robots to work in factories, even play games that requires intelligence, like chess, right? And not only playing, but also defeating humans who are best in them. I hope at least some of you would remember the 1997 game between Gary Kasparov and the computer Deep Blue, one of the landmark events in the history of artificial intelligence, right? No, a lot had happened, right? But one observation that made is that while the progress happened a lot in the realm of science, in the lives of common people like you and me, we didn't see much impact, right? And why, right? And in simple words, the reason being, the theories were there, the concepts were there, the techniques were there, but the supporting ecosystem was not ready. For example, like as Vinod was mentioning, right, the computers need to observe and learn from things that they can see, right, or as we call data, right? It can learn from data. Probably there were not sufficient data to train these techniques. Maybe they did not have enough powerful hardware which need to run these things, right? As a result, I mean, the way I see it is that the scientific innovations were ahead of their time, and the world was not probably ready for that. Now, everywhere, if you talk about the history of artificial intelligence, again, the another landmark time frame that you will hear about is this 2011-12, right? What Vinod was mentioning about 10 years ago, like, and basically towards that, a lot had changed during maybe the beginning of this century, right? That internet had become more pervasive, making access to information very easy, communication become very easy, more quick and instantaneous. The world became compressed, right? And we have it in our palms, right? In the form of smartphones, right? And similarly, like tremendous progress happened in the field of software, hardware, and all. So the ecosystem that I was telling earlier, that which was not ready, but the techniques were ready. Now that started coming together with the progress of AI. Now, on top of it, about this 10 years ago, this momentous moment where with this further advancement in AI, a particular class of techniques arrived, which essentially built by following the functioning of human brains, you can think of in simple way, that a technique which was developed inspired by the functioning of human brains, that became the tipping point, so to say, right? And the AI tools now, based on these techniques, started showing leaps and bounds of progress in specific tasks. Again, understanding text as human do, read something, write something, create something, all of those things, it started doing much better than what it used to do. And so much so, within a few years, in many of these, it actually started doing those things better than the humans, right? So in other words, it started surpassing humans in certain specific things. And through these events, the glimpses of the true power of AI started becoming evident and increasingly becoming more and more clear that the era of artificial intelligence have finally arrived in a big way. And I would say since then, there has not been no looking behind. And I think the curve is going to go upwards even in the coming days and months and years.
Thank you so much. That is quite an elaborate and interesting past and history, I must say. And one thing that you mentioned, that AI was there, but we have created the ecosystem to perform AI better. That is what was needed, and that is what has happened. Thank you so much. Our next question is to Mr. Vinod. Sir, since we have already now made the machine intelligent and creative. Now the machine is performing every task for us at the click of a button. Now, do you think this will eventually kill human creativity, sir?
Okay, so it's a fascinating question. So let me tell you, like a couple of days back, I watched this movie Oppenheimer, right? And I'm not sure how many of you watched it, but Oppenheimer was the father of the atomic bomb, right? So he led the team of scientists who developed the atomic bomb. And Oppenheimer did know that they were building the atomic bomb. Of course, they did not know what was going to be its power, the power of destruction that it would unleash, but they did know that they were building the bomb. And as they get closer to the date of basically building and sending the bomb out to the warfield, a lot of questions arise in the minds of scientists, right? Like whether they've done the right thing in discovering the power of the atom, the power residing within the nucleus of the atom, right? So it's a fascinating movie, but asks very stark questions, right? I think what is different, or again similar in some ways, is that what is different is that AI doesn't appear as destructive as an atom bomb at first sight, right? But again, what is also similar is that we do not know how this could transform humanity. And because the thing is, when we talk about human intelligence, we always talk about the cream of human intelligence. Let's, if we rewind into history, we remember maybe a Socrates from BC or an Archimedes from the BC era. And then, we fast forward into time, we talk about Galileo, maybe in the 15th, 16th century, then a Newton, so in the next centuries, and then maybe an Einstein, of course, a whole bunch of scientists in the last century, right? So human intelligence has thrown up these geniuses, right? Who have come in, who have transformed the path of the evolution of humans themselves, right? But not everyone has done that, right? So as AI starts to do more of these jobs, right? There is always that risk that, what will most of the humans do, right? Not everyone is an Einstein, not everyone is a Newton, because I want to be very honest here in my answer, my own perspective. So I was also reading an article by Chomsky in the New York Times. I think it's a very recent article. I just read it today morning. And I'm always a fan of Chomsky, both for his contributions to actually, language parsing itself in computers, the concept of languages. He's a linguistic professor, a computer science professor as well, but also his views generally on humanities and how humans should conduct themselves, how should societies evolve and stuff, right? He has very strong views, and I find it quite interesting. So I think that, as AI evolves, there will be, I think there will be areas outside of technology which will have to take a very strong look at how AI is evolving. Like I know that not all students here are from science. I'm sure, some of you are from art and humanities. I think those spaces also will be impacted, and maybe will be impacted into a more significant area. Like I just feel like in the last 2 decades, science and technology has almost ruled the world. I think at least in India, right? Parents have forced us. I don't know what is the state now, but most parents are either you become a doctor or an engineer, right? Like that's how most of us grew up. That was the first choice of first choice for parents, for the kids, right? But I think that some of these other fields, like humanities, will actually come into significance. We can't just let AI evolve and evolve, right? Like, I mean, the thing about like just going back to what Chomsky said, he said that, this whole language model, whatever that we see GPT or Bard from Google spitting out sentences, right? It has no thought in it. Okay. And the way I would put it is, it's a very interesting paradigm. Okay, so we humans think something, and then that thought transforms into words. Everything we think, we don't say. Some of it, we do transform it into words, and some words get transformed into actions. But if you look at how some of these latest technologies, like ChatGPT or Bard, have been built, it's very different. It is built by language. What it has done is it has read, trillions of sentences across the web, and there is no thought before it says a sentence. It has to say the sentence, and that sentence is thought for us, and it's very different. So we say, speak after you think, and what these AI models are doing is they are speaking, and not even thinking, and what it speaks comes across to we humans as thought. It's a very different paradigm. But it can do few tasks, like generating some essay. It could create, not just words, there are models to create images as well. It can create images. So will we become less creative? I'm not sure. I don't think so, because in many ways, the AI is trained on what humans have provided, but it can match maybe average creativity by default. And because humans also are just copying. Many times we are all copying. There is no, like I'll admit, as a software engineer, 80%, 90% of the code that I write is by looking at someone else's code, and I fit it into this context, and we do it all the time. When we are teaching something, we are looking at how another teacher is teaching. When we are studying something, we are looking at how our friend is studying, and we are doing it all the time. Like, aping is also a way in which we have grown. So AI is also doing it, but I still think that humans can be more creative, and AI hopefully just becomes a tool rather than a creator in itself. And I will also call upon two aspects which I believe as humans that AI absolutely lacks and will lack forever, right? Which is, one is emotion, and emotion does come in way of many things. So an employer might say, like, okay, fine, let me deal with less emotional machines or zero emotion machines than an emotional person, right? It could they could think that way, but then emotion drives a lot of things that we do for that has impact on the society, that helps many people. Emotion also, does help that way, right? And then second thing is that we have objectives, right? And we frame objectives by looking at the environment. A machine really doesn't have any goal in life. We could set ourselves a goal. So these are all, maybe, science fiction show that suddenly machines, create a goal, and that goal is to kill everybody, shoot everyone in sight, all of that. But yeah, I think these two will still be, beacons of light in an otherwise uncertain scenario where machines are going to be better. Definitely is going to be better in terms of knowledge. Many cases in terms of making conversations, creating content. But I still want to look at these beacons of emotion and goals to keep ourselves, afloat and maybe above.
Thank you so much for that insight. So what you're trying to say is that though machine have become creative, they have become intelligent, but still they cannot take away human emotions. So that is one good side of it. We have some hope for us, I think.
Dr. Roy, we would like to know from you, if AI is able to do such smart things, do you think there's a possibility of misuse of this technology? How could AI also be harmful? What are the threats?
Yeah, that's a very important question to consider, given the possibilities now are emerging, right? See, someone has said that with great power comes great responsibility, right? And it's a fact that AI is becoming increasingly capable and sophisticated day by day. And leveraging that AI, we humans are becoming more and more powerful. While we talk about, or you ask me about harms of AI or threats from AI or likes of that, AI by itself, as we just heard, at least till now does not do anything by itself because it does not have a goal or an objective. We humans use AI, we make AI to do what we want it to do. Hence, the threats primarily arise from the how we build AI, how we deploy AI, and so on, right? So I just wanted to put that in perspective, right? Let me highlight maybe 2 or 3 kind of threats or harms, potential harms or actual harms that are happening. See, one of the major threats from AI that is there in top of my mind is being able to create and spread information which are not truthful, which are not correct, which are not authentic, right? Commonly known as misinformation, right? As we know, right, AI has become very sophisticated in creating text, writing prose and poetry, creating images and everything, right? And often they're so realistic that we can't tell whether these are synthesized by humans or fabricated by AI, right? They're so natural. Now, of course, there are many benefits and many applications of such an efficient machine, such an intelligent machine, which can do things which are as intelligent as humans, right? But also they can also be misused, right? A provocative news can be created saying that certain groups of people, community of people getting attacked by another group, right? Which is not true. Or a person can be falsely placed in a scene of crime through an image, deep fake, or things of that nature, right? So the potential damages could be in many ways, many folds of these powerful technologies if these are not rightly used, right? Let me tell you one personal example, something that happened with us in this year, earlier this year. So, son of a distant relative of ours, right, is like quite sophisticated quite heavy users of computer, etc. He's in mid-teens, right? And so he used certain AI tools like this image and text generation tools to create an imagery and an impression to his parents that he is one of the greatest computer gamers in the world. He is being mentioned in newspaper articles. His photo is appearing with celebrities. Celebrities are talking to him over videos and so on and so forth. When presented to his parents who are not that tech savvy, they took it for real. And when it happened, kept on happening, they realized, oh, okay, this is something is real. These are all created by AI tools, right? Somebody who created maybe with innocence only, but just to create an impression. But his parents took it for truthfully and then started socializing and possibly even boasting about how their his son is actually doing certain great things in this world of computer gaming, right? Anyway, this is the point that we had to intervene when I got to know and somebody else in the family, and then we had to intervene, and we had to be very careful because the parents were living in a bubble, and we didn't really had to be really careful to actually tell them about their son and in a way because it shouldn't come to them as a shock. But also we had to do it because it could have potential bad implications, right? Including this could be a case of like cyber offense, which can be legally punished, and these are not right things to do, right? So even if you have the tools to, right? But again, coming out from that specific example to show that this is like really happening in probably many of our around. So we need to be watchful in terms of everything we read, everything we see on today on the digital media. We have to be careful about their authenticity. Of course, many researchers are also developing technologies to prevent and detect such things. It's not too bad, but it's a real threat that is there today, and we need to be cautious about it.
Sorry to speak out of turn, but I just want to add to what Dr. Shaurya mentioned. He talked of misinformation, and I used to work at Google on Google News, so I could not help jumping in here. I think when I was working at Google, a lot of us we tried to convince upon our to reports, and he was quite against it. He was very much particular that only reputed source should basically participate in Google News. And, in hindsight, we realize, what are the harms of, letting anyone and everyone post news, right? Because news, unlike reported by journalists, and even journalists today, as we see, right, there is so much bias in the media right now, not only, India, but just world over, right? There's so much bias. And always, right, governments in power, like across the world, have this ability of controlling the media, and also with tools like AI, right? There is always a threat that the powers might get centralized in the arms in the hands of few, right? So I think one thing that we all have to be cautious about is that anything and everything that we see, right? There used to be a very popular test called Turing test, which is to see if computers could behave like human, right? Can you distinguish between a human and a computer? It was named after the computer scientist named Alan Turing, who came up with this test even before computers evolved to the extent that it evolved today. So I think all of us, what we need to do is realize the threats that AI can get centralized into a few people's arms and treat every bit of information with caution. And we can provide that beacon, right? Be out of biases, right? Like when we look at a news, keep aside our biases, our views, and treat whether that news is a fact or not, and spread facts. And not only spread facts, basically it is our duty to also, openly expose things that are not facts. Otherwise, as a society with tools like AI, we will be in a world which is just not real. We will be in a bubble and we think certain things are happening, but they're just not happening. Yeah. Thank you, Shaurya, for throwing light on this topic, which is, I feel, very important for everybody to know.
No, thanks, Vinod. I mean, absolutely, from your real experience, right? It's always very helpful to have these anecdotes. Absolutely, thank you. So I'll just quickly summarize the other two quick threads that I probably have top of my mind. One is, again, what we kind of keep on hearing is about things being biased, AI being biased, and giving us biased output, biased prediction. So just quickly, what does it mean and how does it happen, right? So we heard about that AI tools get trained on past data, right? And trillions of sentences and all that. Now, all these things are generated by humans, right? As a result, so these sentences also have human biases, prejudices, beliefs. Some of those are not correct. Some of those are maybe not wrong, and so on and so forth, right? So as much as the AI systems are learning the right things from this data, they are also probably picking up certain of these biases, certain prejudices, right? That people of certain skin color commit more crime, or people of one gender are less capable and hence do less important work. Men become doctors, women become nurses. So these are the biases that the AI also picks up. And not only they transmit, often they actually tend to amplify it in that way, right? I mean, in fact, one of the large technology companies, they had developed a recruitment tool, AI-enabled recruitment tool. And Vinod is laughing, I'm sure he's aware of it. So, and that actually showed like tremendous bias against women who were applying for certain technical positions. And because probably it picked up the bias that in the past, probably there were less women in technical roles, right? And it led to like tremendous repercussions, and the company had to bring that tool down and so on and so forth. So these are real issues with propagating and amplifying such biases. Again, we have to, as we develop AI tools and technologies, we have to be very, very careful to handle bias and mitigate those biases and develop AI in a responsible manner. And finally, just quickly, I would like to say that there are also theories, even though I do not completely subscribe to it, that beings and machines can be equally or more intelligent, and probably eventually they can take over the world, ending the human supremacy. The creation becomes more powerful than the creator. Remember Frankenstein. Again, as I said, I'm not fully subscribed to it, but given that it's a possibility that many people have discussed, some of the eminent scientists have discussed this and said that we need to put a pause in AI development and research, right? I mean, again, there are many other people who have a different opinion on that, But I thought that I'll just mention this for the awareness and the knowledge of the audience here, that this is again a potential threat that people are considering.
That was quite an elaborate understanding of threats and harmful impact of AI. We really have to be very cautious and careful. Thank you so much for that insight, sir. Our next question is to you, Mr. Vinod. Sir, you have been heading the AI and engineering at Eightfold.ai, enabling all to choose a right career. Tell us something. If AI is going to do all our jobs, then are we going to lose jobs to AI, or will it unfold new career prospects?
Okay. So I think Dr. Shaurya just sort of threw light on the biases that AI algorithms could amplify. The reason why I say amplify is because AI itself doesn't have bias, right? It doesn't have a thought. It has seemingly thought, but it has no goals. It has no emotions, and therefore AI inherently doesn't have bias. So the bias comes from the data, and if the data that is supplied to AI is through humans, right? Then the biases that those humans who gave the data have would also get hard-coded, become systematized in the AI, right? Like, because then onwards you will say, I'll use AI, and then you've just passed down the biases to AI, right? So I think so one of the things actually we do at Eightfold is to ensure, we are very much aware of these biases and try to ensure that any data that we pass on to these algorithms are free of biases, right? Like, because some of these biases are prevalent in the society, and we don't want an artificially intelligent being just learning from those biases and just behaving that way in every scenario, right? So on your question, right? So one thing, I'm going to sort of pull actually my own leg and Dr. Shaurya's leg here as well. Like, one thing I'm happy about my work for the last 6 years is that we've been using machine learning on something which is helpful, which is to help people find jobs, right? Prior to that, I used to work on making people, spend their money, hard-earned money, on buying things. Okay, that's what I used to be working. I used to be working on e-commerce search, and Dr. Shaurya does that right now. But yeah, jokes apart, AI has so many different applications. So I think in some sense there is a sense of satisfaction that at least I'm trying to apply technology in something which is positive, just trying to help people find a job, because many of you are all in school, and a point of time in your life will apply to a job, and then you'll realize that 1,000 others, 10,000 others have applied to the same job. And then what happens is that within companies there are like 3 recruiters, 3 people who are looking at those 1,000, 10,000 resumes to decide who should fill these 2-3 jobs. Right. And so now what will that recruiter do? Will they have time to look at 10,000 resumes? No. So they are going to do what you all do at school, inky pinky ponky, or whatever, right? You have a way of selecting a random person. They're just going to do that, pull a resume, and most likely your resume has a very less probability of making it to that random selection, right? Like, not everybody gets a chance, or not the most relevant person gets a chance. So in that sense, there are areas where AI can actually truly help humans find the right candidate. Now, but then what if AI can do that job that the person who's being hired was supposed to do, right? So that imminent threat always lurks, right? And so I don't have an answer to that question, right? What jobs are going to be taken by AI? So I think to me, when I saw these large language models, basically ChatGPT, it is called as large language models. When I saw the power of it, right? Even though I have been in this world of machine learning, it used to be called machine learning earlier, right? Now it has a more cooler name, or this name of artificial intelligence has been there for quite some time, but this has gone into vogue more in recent times. So when I saw it, I found it to be impressive, but in some ways I found it to be, it was brilliant, but I also found it to be a bit, for me, depressingly brilliant, because I found it was doing many things that the way it could understand human language, the way it could give you a meaningful response, the way it could churn out poetry and the way it could churn out code, right? I was just thinking, like, what am I going to do as an engineer? And it so happened that the very next day, I happened to go to a circus. And then I was just, those days circus was so popular, but thankfully I just thought, let me reminisce some of my childhood days. And we all went to a circus, and then I saw humans doing things which I could not do. And I was truly impressed. But unfortunately, there aren't too many circuses anymore, and nor are they getting paid as much as people like us getting paid for doing things that, looks humanly impossible. But on a more serious note, now, how do we, I would bring back to the question, like, how do we stay relevant in the age of artificial intelligence? That's the question, right? And having worked more and more on AI, on machine learning, in many ways, I have actually gotten a little bit tired of it. I feel like in the last 10 years, we have actually trained computers way too much. We have made it learn too many things than I think what humans must have done. So the focus has been, unfortunately, on machine learning. I think it's the time to focus back on human learning. And I think what would keep us relevant, keep our minds engaged, and I'm sure that will all translate into jobs, is doing learning. Like, as humans, we need to continue to learn. I think we have a shining example in Dr. Shaurya. Like, he's done his master's, his PhD, and then to my shock, I heard that he has also done an MBA. And I think we, but whatever we do, right, wherever we are, I think we should just continuously learn. And when I learn, I'm not saying just technology, right? Like, even if AI is evolving, it doesn't mean that technology is the only area where there is growth, right? Maybe AI takes over technology. There's nothing much to do for humans, but there are other areas, other spheres in arts, science, basic sciences, humanities, where I think a lot can be done by us humans. So I would, as much as I have felt a bit depressed at this rapid advancement that has happened in recent times, I would like to still be very optimistic that humans are a resilient race, for good or bad. We've used it in bad ways in the past. There's no denying that, and we should be aware of that, admit it with all humility. But I think that resilience will serve us well. And I think for all of you kids, right, I would say, like, just keep learning. Learn something or the other. Doesn't matter what you learn. Just learn. Like, in fact, someone asked me, I just did an interview, and then the person asked me, like, hey, would you think I've learned all the right technologies? Is this? I said, like, you just learn. Doesn't matter what you're learning. Don't worry about is old technology, new technology. Whatever you're doing, just learn. If you feel that you're learning, I think you will be in good stead, right? So that is where I'll end with on the question of jobs, because I'm pretty sure that if you learn, there will be jobs. You will do something for the economy. You will be like, if you have to talk in terms of money, you will get money. Don't worry. Like, just keep learning.
True that, sir. That continued learning is the key. I'm sure students watching the show will be benefited with your suggestions and inputs.
Our final question is for Dr. Shaurya. Now that, sir, AI is thriving for some time and many things are AI enabled, our life seems more comfortable. It feels like that we have attended the zenith. Now, these are the glorious years of AI. Could you tell us, sir, that what lies ahead of us and what is the future of AI?
Well, we use AI to predict the future, and you are asking me to predict the future of AI. That's a tough one. So I probably have to a brief answer because anyway, it is tough, if not impossible today. What will happen in the space of AI tomorrow? And I don't say this figuratively, really. The pace at which AI research and development is progressing, and Vinod was telling, like, in the last 10 years, the volume of things have happened. New possibilities are emerging, new frontiers are getting conquered on every dimension of technology, every industry, every sphere of our lives, very, very fast. Without getting into very specific, the kind of the pace at which scientific literature in this field is getting published, it is humanly impossible to keep up to that pace with that. And similarly, the number of new tools, new platforms, new technologies, new companies are starting. It is tremendous in that way, right? But still, if I have to say in terms of my view in terms of how things are going to be, that AI is continuing to become more and more integral parts of everything we do. I mean, as cliched as it sounds, the way we find information, we travel, we make decisions in our personal, professional lives, the way doctors treat patients, the way teachers teach students, everything will become more and more AI-enabled, AI-supported, AI-powered, in whichever way you would like to see, right? And I mean, one example that I can tell you, like, all of you have heard about ChatGPT and these other kind of systems. These are so basis of this, people are developing these very custom chatbots, or more formally known as these conversational systems, right? So they are talking to human and in specific ways or specific tasks, and helping them to do certain things. For example, right, to explain a concept of physics better, to help understand how a solution of a math problem arrived step by step, right? These could be tremendously beneficial for young generation, students, and even maybe for teachers, right? In terms of the way they are going to explain these to their pupils, right? In the coming days, right? Similarly, many other applications of these conversational technologies are coming up in all domains in terms of way. So, I mean, in summary, these are irreversible changes that have happened in our lives by the use of technology and AI. So as users, my suggestion, more than a prediction, actually, my suggestion would be, we should be looking into adopting these in our personal and professional lives, make better use of them, be better human being by using these tools effectively, and rather than resisting them, controlling them in a way. So that would be my view.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for enlightening us. Once again, thank you to both of you for, enlightening on all these areas. Now we move on to the next part of the show. Now, some of our students are keen to conduct a rapid fire round for both of you. Now, we may not be able to give you hamper, sir, but surely there will be loud applauses. So I hope both of you are ready for the rapid fire round, sir.
I have an answer for all the questions. Pass.
No, you have to go through this rapid fire round.
It might become slow fire, I'm afraid.
Because the students are keen in conducting it. And so hope both of you are ready now. Yeah, over to you, Arav.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start off by saying I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to listen in and even talk to our wonderful esteemed guests before us. Now, I have a few rapid fire questions we as the students would like to pose to our guests today. Sir, are you ready? Now, our first set of questions is to Mr. Vinod. Sir, since you have been...
I would go second. Okay.
Sir, since you have been instrumental in the development of search engines, I would like to ask, what has been your most searched topic on Google?
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one, actually. I mean, I used to, whenever I used to talk about search engine, I used to say life is a search. So I have pretty much searched about everything in the universe on Google search. So it's actually varied from time to time. So in recent times, I definitely have searched a lot around AI, but the topics are varied from time to time. So I don't have one answer. Sorry about that.
No, that's completely fine, sir. That's great. This was something I'm sure I, as well as many of my peers, were fascinated to know. Now, sir, my second question is, what would you recommend to students struggling in finding the right career path? Is there any instance that you would like to cite where you helped a struggling student?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, don't worry, it's not a struggle. I think this is what happens, right? Like we all get, biased by sometimes people, who have done well, right, academically, and I includes me or Dr. Shaurya, thinking that, if you don't do well right now in school, then there isn't, there is always this threat that, what will happen to your future? All of us ask. But I think that, I would just say that there's nothing like that. You chart your own path, you chart your own way, and you will find your career at the right moment. It doesn't have to happen now, then. So I think that time pressure, right, is false. I'll say it blatantly, because in fact, I consider myself, I've been an out and out academic product, and I say this with all conviction that you don't necessarily. I've seen many people have done well, not necessarily that you have to take only the academic path. So if you find something to be hard or whatever, right, you can take it easy. Don't worry, as long as you are aware of it, as long as you are learning. That is where I meant, like, keep learning, whatever that is, right? Learning doesn't necessarily mean studies. It could be something you're really good at it. Just continue to learn. Of course, there's always a pressure. Like, let's say somebody wants to be a singer, right? Always there is a pressure. Like, is this going to become a career? Like, people will come back and say, like, look, only you want to do, let's say, cricket, right? Only 11 people in this entire country can play cricket. Better you study and all of that, right? But I would say, yeah, maybe there should throw in a bit of balance, but do what you like. And when you're good in one thing, in many ways, I feel like that will pass on to another thing. Like, even if you don't end up being a cricketer, some of the things that you learn there, right, in that journey will help you find your career path, right? So it's not a rapid fire answer, but I felt that I should definitely share it, because this whole topic of struggle, stress, and there's nothing like that. It's like, we should just take a chill pill. Like, a lot of people, have really succeeded. It's not like in the long run, right? Yeah, these don't really matter. You just have to wait, be patient, but be good at something and keep learning every day.
Yes, that was some wonderful advice, sir. Be passionate, continuous learning, and be patient with yourself. I'm sure many of us can take a lot away from that. And I, for one, hope to implement it into my life as well. Sir, what has been the most challenging experience for you in your academic or professional journey?
Okay, that's another interesting question. Yeah, actually, it's just that when you look back, I don't think that anything is actually, in quote unquote, like a challenge, right? Like, if you think of that as a goal that you aspire to be or do or want to do, then you just do it. Like I will just give one example, right? I think there was a glowing introduction saying like it was all India topper and stuff, but the truth is that during my bachelor days, I was studious. I will not lie. I was studious, but I was not overly focused on textbooks, particularly during my bachelor's in engineering. I was like a coding geek. I was like just trying to understand computers. I tried to write compilers. I tried to understand how computers work. With my friends, I tried to build like a small model of a computer, a 4-bit computer with chips and stuff. So I was doing that for most of my journey. And then, one fine day came when, I just realized I was going to complete college. And then I realized all my friends had, applied for higher studies in the US, a lot of them. They had studied for GRE and stuff. And I was like, oh, why didn't I do this? Right? Like, basically, it requires, learning English, all the tough words in the English dictionary and stuff like that. And then, but then one of my friends advised, like, there is this institute called IISc. It's really one of the top institutes. You have to write GATE. And then I said, okay, fine, I'll write it. But, how many students get into it? He said, yeah, maybe top 10, top 20. I didn't focus so much on book studies. But, I said, okay, fine, I'll spend the next 3 months, 4 months preparing for it. I just took question papers, prepared for it. And I just could not believe the result that I was the topper. And I think it really didn't come from actually focusing in the class. It came from actually doing the right things, which is, like tearing apart computers, understanding what's going beneath it, right? Which is what I did. So again, not a rapid fire answer, but basically it goes back to the point that, if you do the right things, if you learn what you are going to learn really, really well, right? Or at least attempt to do that. Not everyone, like some people are lucky, some people are not, maybe sometimes you grasp things faster, sometimes you don't, some people do faster. Don't worry, but you put in sincere effort and it will take you places. I guarantee that.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. I think it gives us a great perspective into how there is no success without hardships, doubts, and struggles along the way. But as long as you stay true to yourself, we'll all be all right. On a more light-hearted note, we want to know more about your life outside of work, sir. So, what does Mr. Vinod do when he's not working?
Okay. Yeah. So I do spend a lot of time with family. I spend time with my son as well. And then, yeah, my interests, have changed across time. Like I used to write, short stories at some point of time in my life. And then I used to be involved in a lot of sports. No, I mean, both trying my hand at playing the sport as well as following. I used to follow, random games like, I don't know how many of you know this game, Sepak Takra, where people play, football with their, football like volleyball and stuff. I used to follow a lot of sports. And sometimes, I get into watching movies. The thing is that, yeah, there are phases. Having worked on Google News, I became like a big Google News geek. And basically, I think some of that influenced me to become more of an activist later on. Which I did. Like I have been a very active solid waste management active. So all of you, please segregate your waste, because I've gone to the village where people, like our garbage that we dump in our dustbin, it used to make, and I think even now it makes its way to some village. It used to make its way to a village called Mandu, where there was a mountain of garbage and the villagers there were suffering. Right, we put the garbage in a dustbin, but then it's dumped in front of their house. So I participated in the protest with them, then came back and I did a campaign in almost, I would say 100 apartment complexes in Bangalore, asking people to start segregating waste so that, you are, basically, right, like you are, it's just the act of like, because after I went there, I stood in the landfill, like participated in the protest. The villagers said, sir, you don't need to visit the landfill. Your presence here is good enough. But then I felt like you guys are living that life every day. Let me experience a landfill. I stood there for 30 minutes and I could realize what hell is. Basically the stink of the entire city in a place, right? So some of this has influenced me, in my, like, I would say the technology part, right? Like not being just a technologist thinking outside it. Like, so there are a few causes that I'm passionate about. Like, I think that one thing I would advise is that, even if you're doing technology, don't be just a technologist, or if you're doing arts, you just sort of expand your horizon, and that will take you to places, even like to a landfill that you would hardly believe. You want to go there, you go there, and it sometimes helps, benefits things, right? So it's so it's sort of varied or a bunch of things. Again, not a rapid fire answer, but yeah, thanks for the question, and I hopefully shared something that you guys can take away.
That's a great answer, sir. It's really nice to see how you can still cultivate time for your interests and make time for things that are important to you, even while being so successful. Now, sir, my last and final question for you is, if AI could create a clone for you, what special ability would you like to give it?
Okay, now this reminds me of Avatar Part 2, right? Where they bring back a character from one saying, I haven't really thought on those terms. I'm happy as I am. I'm not sure, that I just feel like even the whole concept of, transferring all your knowledge to an AI agent is somewhere a journey of your own ego. There is nothing that, we ourselves have literally, discovered. Everything is, as Newton once said, right? We are standing on the giants of the shoulder. Everything is out there. Whatever we have contributed, right? So, I would say that at some point, I want to, like, I'm really more than this answer, right? What I would say is that I'm actually impressed by all of you teachers on the call, right? Like, I feel like, helping people learn is a domain where, which is the most important, particularly in the era of machine learning. Nothing is more significant than that. Unfortunately, I know that teachers are not that celebrated, but not celebrated to the extent they must be. I mean, in all ways, including financial ways, but I just think that the role that they play in the society is so critical, right? Like, if I'm lucky, I hope that one day I end up like you teachers, and somewhere, sort of help, not through a AI engine, but directly, interact with people and help share whatever I've learned, and learn through that process as well, right? I absolutely love to be in this domain where, everyone's learning around you, and you are also playing some sort of role, right? So that would be something I would be more happy with than, sort of sharing something with AI and letting AI do it, right? Would do it direct.
I couldn't agree with you more, sir. The appreciation that we should have for our teachers and those who help us learn is truly important. Now, sir, with that, we conclude our rapid fire round with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. It was great talking to you. Over to you, Sucheta.
Thank you, Arav.
Thank you, Arav. Good evening. As my co-host Arav has stated before, I would also like to say that I am incredibly grateful to be provided this chance to hear from both of yours interesting and informative perspectives. I would now like to jump into a rapid-fire question round with Dr. Shaurya Roy. Dr. Roy, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sure.
So the first question I'm going to ask is, what has been your most prestigious moment or event so far?
Prestigious moment. Okay. Well, there have been several on the work and professional front, but let me tell you one, I mean, slightly related to work, but slightly outside. In 2015, in the month of March, I was invited as a part of some collaboration work with the Victorian government in Australia. I was invited there, and we had certain business discussions around, again, related to AI. But beyond that, that is the time when the government also invited me and another colleague of mine to watch the Cricket World Cup final, which was happening, ICC World Cup final, which was happening in Melbourne Cricket Ground at that during our stay. So I happened to attend one of the biggest sporting event in the world. And of course, cricket being a passion for Indians, and I'm being no exception. And it was in the VIP box, in glass boxes, with all the luxury and the hospitality from the government. In the next glass box, there are names like Glenn McGrath and Sachin Tendulkar sitting there. I mean, I was more in awe. And I felt so tremendously lucky and fortunate to have received such a prestigious welcome and invitation. Perhaps, one of the best moments in my life.
Wow, that's absolutely impressive. And I'm sure a lot of us cricket fans here have looked forward to hearing that answer. And I'm sure the experience must have been extremely thrilling. So you have had many successes in your life, like being state topper, getting into IIT, and so on. Can you mention any failure if you have had any?
Oh, I have plenty more than the whatever you can call successes, I'm sure. As the saying goes, like the failures are the stepping stones of your success, right? Absolutely. There is no success without failure. But again, maybe I'll just take a bit of a digression because you mentioned the IIT. I'll tell you one embarrassing moment, or maybe you can call it a failure also. So during the orientation of the IIT, IIT process, so we were sitting in a big convocation hall, and the senior faculty members, administrator heads, everybody, they came and they talked about the IIT campus life and so on and so forth. And then as a part of the process, we had to fill up certain forms, right? Now, of course, most of the forms were in English. Almost all of the forms were in English. In fact, and there were one form out of in which there are certain fields we had to write in Hindi. In particular, maybe the name was to be written in Hindi, if I remember correctly, right? Now, it happens to be the case that I have studied all throughout my life, 12 years in a Bengali medium school with English as my second language, and I've never studied Hindi. I could speak and understand moderately, reasonably well at that time, thanks to watching a lot of Hindi movies, but I could barely read and not at all write. Now I have to write my name in Hindi. So what I do, I ask the next guy sitting with me, who is also an entrant to the IIT, and tell him, hey, this is my name in English. I can't write in Hindi. Can you write my name? Now this guy looks in at awe and maybe thinking, or not maybe, he's really thinking, what kind of people are coming to IIT these days? They can't even write their name in Hindi or in the official language of the country. Later, he became a good friend of mine. He had even said this in our farewell after coming out of the batch. But given the fact that I'd never studied Hindi, I could not write my name, and it was an embarrassing moment. And after that, I always remember that and kind of say this in a funny way. But yeah, I mean, it is definitely a failure that I should have learned that minimal Hindi before I kind of come to that stage.
I'm sure a language that we have not learned or are not fluent in can seem extremely scary. And I'm also sure a lot of us here can learn from our failures. Not every successful journey is an easy one. Now, a question that I'm sure a lot of us students are looking forward to, which one would you suggest? A non-preferred subject in IIT or a subject of your choice in any other top-tier non-IIT college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a common question I often get actually from many parents, students in my network or relations and so on. But see, the thing is that the answer to this question, it depends. It depends a lot on what are the subjects we are talking about, how strong are the preferences, which colleges are in consideration, and so on and so forth, right? So it's very hard to give a general answer to this. But still, given that you have asked this question, if I have to answer this, I would say that always go with your preferred subject. As long as the college is reasonably good, don't go with the brand name of the institute. Rather, go with the subject of your choice. Follow what you want to do, stick to it, pursue it, demonstrate perseverance in what you are doing. Nothing comes easy. Even in a subject of your choice and preference, life is not going to be easy. But the expectation and the hope is that you will enjoy doing what you are doing much more than perhaps a different subject, maybe in a more prestigious college, and so on. So that would be my general advice. But again, as I put the disclaimer in the beginning, it would depend on a lot of factors.
So, coming from a student herself, I thank you for that useful piece of advice. I'll be sure to keep it in mind. So, you have been writing food blogs and have traveled extensively. Is there any one dish that you loved eating and writing about?
That's even harder than about prediction of AI. What is going to happen to AI?
I was going to stereotype and say fish.
Well, okay. Now that you've said fish, let me tell you a seafood story. Okay, so this was in the year 2008, and I was traveling in Japan, and so there's some colleagues from there who had taken me for a dinner, and they asked me that, do you have any restrictions or reservations about eating something and so on? I said, no, absolutely no. I mean, anything that you can eat, I can also eat. I just had to say that because I didn't want to miss out an opportunity to eat and eat like in the locals in Japan, right? Now, so they took me to a apparently famous place, but it's not a big one. It's a small eatery, and where we sat on the floor around the table, 4 of us. There were tiny plates in front of each of us, and then like a big bowl in the middle. And the way things were working is that the chef was bringing in one item after the other, and keeping it in the bowl, and then you are supposed to take the portions with chopsticks or fork or whatever you have. Chopsticks by default. I think I had asked for forks. And then you take it in your plate and eat, right? Then after some 2-3 items, then I see that the chef came and asked something in Japanese to one of my colleague, and my colleague then turned towards me and asked me in English that, okay, there is this specific seafood they will bring it to you alive. You can see it, and then okay, I don't want to go into too much of details. And then they are giving you options that do you want to eat that fully raw or mildly boiled? I said, yes. Are these the only two choices that I have? And yeah, they says, yeah, those are the traditional way. But if you don't want to, you can pass it. We will have it. I said, no, we'll go for it. Yeah.
They didn't give you the option of, is it mildly alive or fully?
Well, I mean, as they say, right? When in Rome, do as Romans do. But that was I mean, not only from the food, but that was an awesome holistic experience. Like, I mean, just being with the locals, and I mean, and it would do that. I try to do that everywhere I go. And I still believe that you get the best food in the most unassuming places. Yeah. And so that's one experience that reminded me.
I definitely agree. Eating local food is a comforting and a new experience for everyone who tries it. So last but not least, what is the mantra of your success?
Well, success or not, I don't know. One thing that I strongly believe that if you are becoming comfortable in something, get out of it. Do something else. Challenge yourself. Give newer opportunities to yourself to excel. Vinod was mentioning earlier, like learn, like, I mean, learn more, right? If you, I mean, I'm not saying that you have learned something, everything in a domain, but if you feel that you know in a good amount of things, try and explore a new area, right? Offer yourself a new goal, as we say, resolutions, goals, right? Take those up and do something there. And if you offer newer challenges, may not be everywhere you will be successful. There will be failures, but still you will be able to get new successes, which you will not be able to get if you don't offer those challenges to yourself, right? So I'll just end by saying this quote, right? That if you're the best guitarist in a band, it is time to look for a new band. So, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of us here have a lot to take away from that. Stepping out of your comfort zone is definitely a stepping stone of success. Thank you so much for the extensive knowledge we have gained, and even more so for your time. It was such a pleasure learning from you. That concludes our rapid fire round. Thank you, Dr. Roy.
Thank you.
Thank you, students. I hope our guests enjoyed it as much as we loved hearing it from them.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you, the principal ma'am, and the entire school, Sudashna, everyone, and Sonali, everyone, for organizing this. It was, it was a learning experience for me also. Not only hearing from Dr. Roy, who's obviously well informed and knowledgeable and everything, but I was also pleasantly surprised, even from Sucheta and Arav, who just reflected everything each one of us said, and then summarized my not so rapid fire answers. So yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure being part of this. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Likewise, I definitely would like to thank Dr. Manila Carvalho, Principal DPS, and all the organizing teachers, in particular Sudashana ma'am, Vikranti ma'am, for hosting this. Arav and Sucheta, you guys like really wonderful. Really love those thoughtful questions and the way you kind of presented the gist. And again, thanks to all the audience members for coming in. I hope at least something was worthy of your time. Really appreciate you guys coming here. It's a pleasure. And Vinod, very nice hearing from you. You have been very modest, but absolutely, it's a great pleasure to meet and interact with you here too.
And no, thanks, Shaurya, for the opportunity, and thanks to everyone who have been patient listeners. I know you've all been muted. I don't know how many of you had some thoughts, where you wanted to differ with us, but thank you all for being the audience as well.
As we come to the end of the show, I would conclude it with a vote of thanks. On behalf of the organizing committee, Delhi Public School, Bangalore East, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Shaurya Roy, Senior Research Director, Flipkart, and Mr. Vinod Kumar Ravindranath, Head of AI and Engineering, 8fold.ai, for being a part of our talk show, AI Talks, Unraveling the Future. Your passion and enthusiasm added a vibrant and captivating dimension to the event, making it a success. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our management, our principal, Dr. Manila Carvalho, our vice principal, Ms. Preeti Sutta, for providing us a platform where our students can benefit and thus cater to their intellectual curiosity. I would like to thank Ms. Aparna Vibhute and Ms. Pallavi Srivastav for technical support, and Ms. Sonali Roy and Ms. Yoni Dixit for their constant support and guidance. Thank you, parents, teachers, and students for being a wonderful and enthusiastic audience. We hope that the experiences, stories, and words of wisdom that our guests have shared will undoubtedly leave a lasting impact on all of us. I also believe that this talk gave us an insight of what artificial intelligence is. Thank you and have a very good evening.